Hi, welcome back to Movie Laps. Today, I am going to explain you an action drama film titled Boyka Undisputed. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. Yuri Boyka, an MMA fighter, resides in Kyiv, Ukraine. He has earned the title of Undisputed, making him the finest boxer in Europe. One evening, Boyka is participating in an unlawful battle in an underground arena. He doesn't allow the opponent to land a single blow on him as the audience applauds. After a quick one-sided bout, he kicks the opponent while he's still in the air to finish him off. The scene shifts to a Russian maximum security facility. For the amusement of the guards and warden, the prisoners engage in combat. These contests appear to be pleasant to outsiders, but the appropriate players can make them highly vicious. Koshmar is a beast, who is the deadliest prisoner ever. His aggressiveness requires the guards to link his limbs and shut his mouth in order to prevent him from harming anyone outside the ring. The opponent of Koshmar is only half his height and is unable to properly punch him. He breaks the man's neck by slamming him to the ground before pounding him in the face. When his face is distorted and stained with blood, the fight comes to an end. Koshmar is notorious for not having mercy and killing all of his opponents. Boyka, in comparison to him, is a nice guy outside of the ring. He hasn't had a wonderful life as he spent several years in prison and is a wanted criminal in Russia, but he has managed to put his past behind him and is putting in the effort to change for the better. He is constantly conducting charitable work and even supports a church in Kyiv. A priest advises him to think about picking a different profession one day. Boyka has always had the priest's support, so the fighter is astonished by the comment. Boyka replies that he would continue to use his talent because it is a gift from God. He doesn't want to fight in an illegal setting anymore, he wants to fight professionally. Boyka's manager approaches him in the afternoon and informs him that he may now take part in legitimate MMA contests lawfully. He is eligible to compete in the Budapest-based European fighting event if he wins the first battle. The day of the qualification match follows. Boyka is prepared to put everything on the line because this is one of the most significant fight of his life. Victor is a Russian man who opposes him. Boyka makes the first impactful kick of the game. He displays his defensive prowess in the first few minutes by successfully blocking every attack launched against him. Boyka's strike is simpler to launch as Victor becomes more angry. He knocks Victor out with a knee to the jaw, confirming his qualifying in the eyes of the judges who are watching from the sidelines. Everyone thinks the match is over, but Victor surprises them by getting up. Seconds later, he is knocked down a second time, but he refuses to accept defeat. By now, Boyka is frustrated, so he lands a third punch on Victor's face, knocking him senseless. After the victory, the organizers invite Boyka to Budapest to participate in the league, thereby providing him with a wealth of opportunities. Boyka receives a large sum of money from the management, who advises him to work hard in training as the next game is in 2 weeks. Boyka observes that Victor is very ill as he turns to leave. If he had given up after the initial knockout, he would not have felt guilty for hurting him that much and would never have done it. Boyka thinks back to the priest's counsel and offers a quick healing prayer for Victor. He has nightmares at night in which he kills an opponent in the arena. He approaches the manager the following morning and asks about Victor. He is shocked to learn that Victor passed away in the hospital last night. No one is to blame because they had already signed a contract before the game. Boyka is aware that he is to blame for the death, however, deep down. The manager gives Victor a bag that belonged to him after being questioned about Victor's relatives. Boyka discovers a letter from Victor's wife and a photo of the two of them inside. He can imagine how distraught his wife must have been when she read the letter and learned of his passing. Boyka expresses to the manager his desire to travel to Russia to meet Victor's wife, but the manager is strongly against the idea. Boyka is still considered a criminal in Russia and will be sent behind bars if he is discovered. Given that he is so close to becoming a legitimate MMA fighter, creating a false passport will be necessary, which is a very risky move. Boyka is convinced about his choice despite being aware of the implications. The next scene introduces us to Victor's wife Alma, who is present at his funeral. She is all alone herself and has nowhere to turn after his passing. She and Victor also owe some money to a mafia lord by the name of Zurab. He attends the burial and offers Alma to be his wife in exchange for forgiveness of her debt. Despite being repelled by his presence, Alma takes care not to enrage him. She merely responds by saying she would like to put in more effort and pay him over time. Alma is a community center owner and resides there. She and Victor built it with the money they borrowed from Zurab. Many orphans and people in need call this facility home. Boyka goes to see her when she arrives in Russia but sees that a group of men are taking her away in a black sedan. She apparently works as a waitress in Zurab's secret fighting organization. He regards her like his own property and is fiercely possessive of her. Boyka discovers Alma in the fight club later that day. When he attempts to speak with her, Zurab's guards stop him and lead him outside. Boyka respectfully asks them what time she will be leaving work since he wants to avoid getting into a fight. The gangsters attack him in response to the question, but they soon learn their lesson for messing with a skilled fighter. When Boyka engages in combat, Zurab is impressed by his abilities. He wants to hire Boyka since his club has been in need of a competent martial artist. The man counters that he is only there to meet the girl and is not there to get into any fights. Boyka wants more objects with Zurab's proposal to speak to Alma on his behalf when she won't allow him to meet her. Zurab asks to his followers to keep a check on him once he disappears from the site. The following day, Boyka manages to sneak into the community center and meet Alma. He gives her Victor's letter and asks her if she is being forced to work at the fight club. Alma replies that she would like to work somewhere else but is bound by the debt. She then reads the letter and asks him if he saw her husband's last fight. Boyka comes clean, admitting that he was the last person Victor fought. He tries explaining that the death was an accident, but Alma refuses to listen to her husband's killer. Following the interaction, Boyka goes to Zurab and agrees to fight for him. However, in turn, he will have to forget all of Alma's debt. The deal is that Boyka has to win 3 matches against the opponent of Zurab's choice. Alma meets Boyka the following day and tells him she doesn't need his empathy. Boyka claims that he is doing this way for his own gratification despite her request for him to go back home. Then, while he trains for the contests at a nearby gym, a man starts to bully him. Boyka kicks the man once in the back when he keeps prodding him. Then comes the day of the first fight. Boyka engages in a clean fight with a local boxer. The opponent makes a couple of weak kicks, but Boyka beats him up. He manages to knock him down, and just as he is about to deliver the finishing blow, he stops. Alma provides him with beverages after the fight. Boyka asks her if she knows of a great neighborhood gym because the one he is currently attending doesn't meet his expectations. Alma thinks for a moment before inviting him to use the gym at her community center. For the following few days, he trains there, and eventually Alma becomes used to his presence. Boyka's following match is a 2-on-1 battle against 2 brothers. He is surprised because he wasn't informed of the rules. Zurab says the fighters must follow the regulations because it is his arena. Boyka tries to defend both brothers simultaneously as the match starts. He tries to fight one while the other strikes, making it difficult for him to concentrate. In the brief time it takes them to recover, he still manages to push one aside and knock the other one to the ground. Up until Boyka is kicked in his already hurt lower back, the fight is evenly matched. The pain is unbearable until he sees Alma in the audience and continues fighting. Then, after kicking both of them, he successfully knocks them out. Since no one had predicted that he would also win this match, the audience erupts in applause. The following day, Zurab goes to see Alma and makes an effort to make conversation. He makes the accusation that she had slept with Boyka after she rejected his advances. Additionally, he infuriates her by asserting that Boyka killed her husband on purpose and that the death wasn't an accident. Alma makes a show of not believing him, but she finds the remark offensive. Boyka's manager in Ukraine rings him back right away because he needs to attend a press conference for the fight in Budapest. Boyka requests a postpone because he still has 1 fight left to win. When he enters his room, Alma is there to greet him. Boyka begins telling her about all the difficulties he has had in life as she presses him to be honest about her husband's passing. He admits that the first half of his life was spent in misery and that his only chance for a better future lay in the match with Victor. He gave it all and succeeded, but Victor's passing took a bigger piece of him. He begs Alma to let him do what needs to be done even though he knows she will find it very difficult to accept his assistance. The night match sets Boyka against Igor, Zurab's strongest fighter, who has been making fun of Boyka ever since he came. Igor is particularly angry at Boyka because he is a threat to his position in the gang. He repeatedly hits him as a means of expressing his anger. He is successful in mounting a strong defense, focusing on Boyka's lower back. Boyka, however, kicks him twice in midair, changing the course of the fight. Then, he hits Igor until he is completely unconscious. With this, he wins the entire competition and settles Alma's debt. But Zurab knew what would happen and had prepared for it. He interrupts Boyka and says that he must defeat one more opponent in order for their agreement to be terminated. Boyka has just a few hours left before his key professional encounter in Budapest. However, he doesn't want to go without rescuing Alma. As a result, he tells the management to hold off until the next morning and prepares to face the last champion. The opponent is Koshmar, the beast that has battled and eliminated every one of his opponents in the Russian prison. The fight starts, but Boyka is already too tired. He tries his best, but his attacks seem to do Koshmar little to no harm because of his physique. The beast lands several punches on him before kicking him in the jaw. Boyka falls down because of the impact and has a hard time standing back up. Seconds before losing the fight, he gathers strength and stands up but is again slammed to the floor. When Koshmar is almost sure that he has won, Boyka takes him by surprise and pushes him back with a kick. He finally reaches Zurab and throws him to the ground. Boyka receives a gunshot wound in the process, but his rage overpowers his suffering. Eventually, Zurab is strangled to death. Alma tries to help Boyka, but he stops her, asking her if he has her forgiveness. Sometime later, the police arrive and arrest him. He asks her forgiveness one more time before being dragged away, but Alma doesn't respond. Boyka is then sent to a Russian prison. Alma pays him a visit a month later and informs him that he has been forgiven. Boyka is relieved for the first time in months despite the failure of his ambition to turn pro. In the final scene, he is still wearing the undisputed tag while competing in the prison's arena. Subscribe our channel for more amazing explanations. Thanks for watching.